Hello, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so today we are actually going to be doing a sample listening task of Cambridge IELTS Book 11 listening test number one. So we have already talked about the do's and don'ts of listening. If you've seen that comprehensively in the listening presentation that I uploaded a while back on this channel. So whenever you do a listening test, regardless of which section it is, right, whether it's social or academic section, whether it's an MCQ type question or some other type of question, there's always a certain checklist that you got to follow, right? So what's the checklist? You have to, first of all, make sure you read the instructions properly, okay? Failure to, answer as per the instructions is going to give you a mark of 0, okay? Along with that, you got to underline the keywords in the question statement, okay? Additionally, you got to brainstorm for plausible answers. So we're going to see how we incorporate that checklist in a practical context by looking at this sample listening test, okay? So we're going to begin with section 1, which, as you know, fellas, is a social section that involves multiple speakers, sorry. It's a social section, a conversation on general theme that would involve 2 or more speakers. So section 1, questions 1 to 10. So first of all, we're going to look at our instruction that says write one word and or a number. So and or we're going to break it down one by one. In the first context, you write one word or a number, which means that either you can write one word or you can write a number. I presume at this stage you all are aware of the basic fundamental difference between a word as well as a number. So a word could be shopkeeper, 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 whereas the number 8 is obviously a number itself, right? So that is the first context, or in which you either write one word or you write a number. Now, if you look at the second case, there's also and stipulated in it. So you can also write one word and a number. For example, I read 7 books. So let's say your answer is 7 books. The number 7, that is one number, followed by books, BOOKS, okay? So as per these instructions, your answer can be presented in 3 different ways. Either you write one word only, or you write a number only, or you write one word and a number, okay? If you, anything apart from these 3 possible explanations is wrong, okay? If you write 2 numbers or 2 or 3 words, you're going to be violating the instruction, then your answer is going to be incorrect, okay? So this is the very first thing that we need to understand, right? Because this is a very silly mistake that students often make, okay? Another silly mistake is obviously incorrect spelling, writing the wrong answer in the place of the wrong question, okay? These are some basic things, okay, that are not technically related, that are something that I just deal with, with a reckless and a clumsy approach, and they can end up costing you quite dearly, okay? So this is the very first thing that we need to factor. So section 1, like I said before, is a social section involving multiple speakers. So always look at the heading, okay? It's basically on which topic? On the topic of hiring a public room. An example has been done for you, but keep in mind this is an old past paper. In the new ones, upcoming ones, you don't have solved example. That privilege has been taken away, okay? So the first subheading is the dash room, okay? So I said after the instructions, you got to look at the headings and subheadings. So in this case, the main heading of this section is hiring a public room. And then it has different subheadings, which are all given in blue: room and cost, before the event, during the event, after the event, okay? So when the recording is going to be on the topic of room and cost, then that means that, that basically means that, bear with me for a second. Right. So room and cost, right? So that's so when they in the recording, when you hear the mention of the word room and cost, that basically means that you are going to be getting the answers to questions 1, 2, 3, and 4, because they're all based on the subheading room and cost. Okay. Second, when you come to the second subheading, so whenever you hear the word in the recording, that is before the event. So you will be ready for answers 5 and 6. Similarly, during the event focuses on answer 7, whereas after the event covers 3 questions, that is 8, 9, or 10. So it's very important to streamline your preparation and compartmentalize your search process by paying particular attention to the headings and the subheadings and the passages, okay? Because they give you an indication of when and where your next answer is going to be. So if you look at room and cost, the dash room seats 100. So room and 100 will be my keywords, okay? If I look at question for number 2, the main hall, £250 deposit payment, these will be my keywords through which I can extract the answers for question 2 and 3, okay? For number 4, it will be cost, tables, and chairs, okay? So always underline the keywords in the question statement because they are very conducive in terms of helping you extract your answer, okay? Also, you can brainstorm for plausible answers. So number 2, pounds dash, is going to be a number. It could be 100, 200, 300. I don't know that, right? I mean, you got to listen to the recording for that. Then similarly, dash payment is required, a down payment is required, an advanced payment is required, right? So this is a range of plausible answers from which you are going to be getting your correct answer from the recording. So when you brainstorm and you prepare yourself that, okay, this is going to be my range of plausible answers, it helps you get that comparative edge, that you need in order to ace your listening module. Similarly, if you look at the keywords for question 5, it's going to be license. For number 6, it's going to be caretaker, Mr. Evans. For number 7, it's going to be the band door at the back. For number 8, it's going to be cleaning cupboard. Need to know the dash for the cleaning cupboard. What could we need to know the code for the cleaning cupboard. Need to know the access code for the cleaning cupboard. Scratch access code because it's 2 words, and obviously we need to pay particular attention to the instructions. We need to know the password for the cleaning cupboard. These are some plausible answers. Okay? The dash must be washed and placed, and rubbish placed in black bag. So washed, rubbish, black bag. That will be a keyword. Dash must be taken down, that will be a keyword. Now, it's not necessary that you're going to get these exact same words in the recording. It could be paraphrased, and that's why the IELTS is all about development of your vocabulary, just like any other English proficiency test. So all dash must be taken out, so taken out, it could also be removed, okay? So you need to watch out for that. So that being said and done, similarly, if you go to section 2, okay, so that's questions 11 to 20. Okay, now this section is split in different parts. The first part is on questions 11 to 14, and the second part is questions 15 to 20. Now, fellas, you need to understand that whenever there is a split in the section, okay, in other words, when you have more than one part in a section, when you have 2 or 3 different parts, there's a very strong possibility that every part will have its own particular instructions. You can't take it for granted that the instruction of one part is going to be the same as the instructions of the remaining parts for one particular passage, okay? People often overlook this, and it can end up costing you pretty dearly. So you need to make sure you factor in the instructions for each and every part of a section. So in the first part for questions 11 to 14, okay, our instruction is very clearly given to us, and that is in bold capital blue, write one word for each answer, okay? So our heading for this part of the section is FIDI Working Heritage Farm. Like I said before, section 2 is a social section that involves one speaker. So there's going to be one speaker giving the listeners an in-depth explanation of the dynamics and the workings and the schematics of the FIDI Working Heritage Farm, okay? What's the subheading? What is this, what these questions 11 to 14 about? The person is basically giving the prospective visitors advice about visiting the farm, okay? Take care not to harm any dash, okay? Take care means to exercise caution. Harm, that or damage, that is a keyword, okay? Not to harm any, what could that be? Not harm any property, not harm any animals, okay? So these are plausible answers, okay, that we have to prepare when we are getting the answer from the recording. Number 12, not touch any, so touch is the keyword. Number 13, where dash, so where is your keyword? Not bring dash into the farm. Okay, there are certain things or people that you're not allowed to bring with you in the farm. There's certain exceptions, so that's number 14 for us. Similarly, if you go down, okay, now questions 15 to 20, like I said, that's another part of the section. So it's another part of the section. As you can see, it has got its own corresponding set of instructions. Write the corresponding letter A to I, okay, A to I. Now, if you look at this section, so what we have, I'm just going to zoom it out a bit so that you can see all of it in one go, yeah? Now, as you can see, basically what you have is, fellas, you have a schematic. Okay, you have a map given, which corresponds to the farm. Yes. So this is a road, this is a footpath, farmyard, main path, fish pool, side path, car park, new barn, blah blah blah. And obviously, you have some missing parts that have to be labeled, that have to be filled. Okay. So it says write the correct letter A to I. Okay. Write the correct letter A to I. So you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Okay. You have different, letters given. Okay. And you have to identify 6 areas within the map of this farm. Okay. You have to identify where the scarecrow is located, where the maze is, where's the cafe, where's the location of the black barn, the covered picnic area, as well as the Freddy house, and that is for which you have to listen to the recording. You have been given X, which is a starting point. You are here, so obviously you're going to be traversing that path accordingly. So your starting point is going to be from X, that is right next to the new barn. So when you listen to the recording, just make sure that you factor that into consideration. Okay. Now remember one thing: your instruction says write the correct letter, not letters, which means that every area, for example, the maze is going to have one answer or correspondent with it. It's going to, in other words, it's going to have one letter. And obviously that makes sense. Okay, if there's one maze, it can only have one location, can't have different locations. Yeah. So that's section 2 for us. Next time we come to section 3, which has pretty much been a bone of contention for my students as far as I've observed in my years of teaching this test, right? So section 3 is a academic section. It is a technical discussion that involves multiple speakers. Could be 2 or it could be more. Okay. And this is generally where I feel that students lose the most marks. Okay. Because A, they get carried away with the MCQs. And the very first advice that I give students when it comes to dealing with the MCQs is that please do not get carried away. Okay. With the numerous list of options. Okay. Oftentimes students hear about a particular option and they just write down straight away without seeing whether the option is related to the question or whether it's answering the question adequately and appropriately or not. Okay. So you're going to follow the same drill as we did before. Okay. First of all, what's the topic about? Study on gender in physics. Perfect. What's the instruction? Choose the correct letter A, B, or C. So for every question, fellas, you have 3 options given and you got to select one of the correct options. If it's alpha, you go for A. If it's the second one, you go for B. If it's the third one, you go for Charlie. Okay. Now, in my listing, I had 40 out of 40. I had a band score of 9, and a technique that really helped me, especially when it came to the MCQ part, was something that OA level students would be very much acquainted with. They'll be very much familiar with that, and that is POE, process of elimination. So oftentimes what we do is we try to extract the right answer out of the 3 or 4 options that have been given to us or more. So rather than trying to extract the right answer, you first try to eliminate those incorrect possibilities. Okay? For example, I'm just saying, I don't know what the answer is, right? Let's say the answer for 21, the students in Akira Mayake's study were all majoring in, let's say the answer is psychology or physics. I'll first try to rule out A. I'll try to rule out physics. I'll try to rule out science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. So I'll rule out 2 incorrect options until I'm left with default with the right option. Okay. Now it's up to you which approach you want to go for. Like I said before, there's no right or wrong approach as long as it gets the job done, as long as it gets 0 marks, your necessary band score. I would say Godspeed, go ahead with it. Okay. But this is an option that you would exercise in your approach to, do this exam with ease. Okay. So if you look at section 3, it says the students in Akira Miyake's study were all majoring in dash. Okay. So you have 3 different options given. So majoring, okay, study, students, these are our keywords. Okay. Then the aim of Miyake's study was to investigate. Aim means the purpose, the focus. Investigate is to explore, okay, to browse. Okay, like I said, you could have some synonyms given in the recording, so you got to be vigilant and prepared for that. Okay. A is what kind of women choose to study physics. B, a way of improving women's performance in physics. C, whether fewer women than men study physics at the college. Okay. Then you have 23. The female physics students were wrong to believe that. Emphasis on female and wrong to believe. In other words, they made an incorrect assumption or their particular approach in the matter was wrong. It was incorrect. It wasn't authentic, right? The female physics students were wrong to believe that A, the teachers mocked them in an unfair way. B, the male students expected them to do badly. C, the test results were lower than the male students. Okay. 24, Miyake's team asked the students to write about. So clearly the students have been asked to write or make a note on a particular thing. on a particular theme. So A, what they enjoyed about studying physics. B, successful experiences of other people. C, something that was important to them personally. Something that was important to them personally. Okay. So that's the thing, right? Then you have 25. What was the aim of the writing exercise done by the subjects? A, to reduce stress. B, to strengthen verbal ability. C, to encourage logical thinking. Then you have, 26. What surprised the researchers about the study? Then you got three options. Then 27. Greg and Lisa, these are the two people who are speaking in the recording. Okay, they think Miyaka's results could have been affected by A, the length of the task, B, the number of students who took part, C, the information of the students were given. Greg and Lisa decided in an own project they'll compare the effects of, okay, so two different writing tasks, B, a writing task with an oral task, C, two different oral tasks. 29, the main finding of Smolinski's research was a class teamwork activities. So main findings, Smolinski, class teamwork activities, these are your keywords, okay? A is they were the most effective when done by all women groups. B, had no effect on the performance of men or women. C, improved the results of men more than of women, okay? The number 30, sorry. What will Lisa and Greg do next? What's their next task going to be? Okay. In the near foreseeable future, A, they're going to talk to a professor. B, they're going to observe a science class. C, they're going to look at the science timetable. Okay. Now, fellas, understand one thing. Okay. In every section before the recording begins, be it for whichever part, okay, you always have some time given. It will clearly say in the recording very specifically that you now have time to look at questions, these to these, okay, so on and so forth. Okay. So use that time, whatever passage of time you have, 30, 40, 50 seconds, very wisely to execute the checklist, make sure you're seeing the instructions, make sure you're noting the headings and subheadings, make sure you are underlining the keywords in the question statement, make sure in the case of MCQs especially, you are factoring in all the options, they are on the fingertips, you're on your fingertips, they're on the back of your mind, because in the recording, you have very limited time to do your research, okay? So you always use that time very wisely, okay, to go to acquaint yourself with the questions before the recording begins, okay? Then section 4 is an academic section, which involves only one speaker. Okay, so first of all, we look at our instructions. Okay, the instruction is clearly write one word only. Okay, then we go for our heading. What is this whole section talking about? It's on the topic of ocean biodiversity. Okay, so our very first subheading is going to be biodiversity hotspots. Okay, important for locating targets for. Important and targets, this will be a keyword. The second subheading is Boris Worm 2005. That's for the answers to questions 32, 33, and 34. So make sure to look at the keywords. Like in the case of 32, rich in, high temperatures for 33, sufficient dash in the water. Okay, yeah, the keywords ho jayenge. Then the next subheading is going to be Lisa Balance 2007. Okay, hotspots, marine, that is a keyword for question 35. Then senses of marine life is another subheading. Okay, new ocean species under the that's your another keyword. Then you have the next subheading that deals with question 37 to 38 called global marine species assessment. Okay. So population size, geographical distribution, rate of dash. Okay. Look at these words. Then final subheading is going to be regarding question 39 and 40. That is recommendations to retain ocean biodiversity. So establish dash corridors for turtles. So corridors and turtles is going to be a keyword, and the keyword is going to be catch fish for the purpose of so and so. Okay, so this is how you incorporate the checklist practically when you are doing the test. Okay, that's what we talked about in the last lecture of IELTS listening in the presentation, right? So now we are in the next the upcoming session. What we're going to do is we're actually going to look at the critique of this listening module. We're going to look at all the answers for sections 1, 2, 3, and 4. But more importantly, we're going to see how what was our process of inferential and deductive reasoning through which we arrived at those respective answers. Yeah. So that being said and done, we are gonna begin our what you call critique. Okay. So our very first option is, so our very first section was section 1. So as we talked about before, a lady, obviously, before you go through this part of my session, okay, I would very strongly advise you, ladies and gentlemen, to access this recording on YouTube. It is Cambridge IELTS Book 11 listening test 1. I repeat, it is Cambridge IELTS Book 11 listening test 1. Okay, so just make sure you kindly access the recording. You first go and solve the test in detail. Once you're done with it, then you come back and reflect on this critique that I've made on this activity. Okay, otherwise it's just going to be over the top. Okay, so in the very first section, there was actually a lady who was asking a gentleman about having a room in the village hall for the evening of September. Now, he tells her that there are two options. There's a main hall with seating for 200 people and the dash room, which has got seating for up to 100 people. Okay. Now, keep in mind, like I said before, that in question 1, you had your keywords room and seats 100. Okay. And he's saying very specifically over here, the Charlton room, which has got seating for up to 100 people. Now, what was our instructions? Write one word and or a number. Since room is already given, therefore, our answer in this is going to be Charlton, Charlton. Okay, make sure you get the spellings right, fellas, because incorrect spellings is going to get you a mark, a 0 mark and corresponding 0 balance score. Okay. Next up, she says they're organizing a dinner for charity and they're hoping for at least 150 people. She says that she thinks we will go for the main hall and ask how much that will cost. He confirms the timings and verifies that she indeed wants it for the evening of Saturday, 1st September. He says it would be £115 from 6 p.m. to midnight. It says that is the weekend price, and it's 75 pounds on weekdays. Now you have two figures being quoted over here. One is 75 pounds, and the other is 115 pounds. Okay. Now you have to notice that in the question it says on a Saturday, and Saturday does not constitute as a weekday. Therefore, the 75-pound option automatically goes out the window and you're left by default with 115 GBP. So you're going to write your answer as 115 because that's one number and that's accepted as per the scope of our instructions. Okay. Next up, if you look at question 3, it asks about dash payment is required. Now let's talk about it. He insists there's also a deposit of £250, your keyword, which is returnable, of course, provided there is no damage. But we do insist that it be paid in cash. The actual rent of the room can be paid however you like. Therefore, the answer for question 3 is cash payment is required. So answer for 3 will be cash, that is CASH. The areas of this document which I've underlined in black, they actually are our answers. Okay, so the answer for question 3 is going to be cash. Okay, next up, in question 4, it was said cost includes use of table and chairs and also dash. Okay, and she asks him, what about parking? He says, yeah, it's all included. So the cost also covers parking. So parking is going to be our answer to question number 4. After that, he says there are just 1 or 2 things you need to think of before the event. License is needed for music, okay? Because it says we'll need a dash license. So I said license will be our keyword. So license is needed for music. That is our answer to question 5. And secondly, you need to contact a caretaker a week or 10 days before the event to make arrangements for entry, okay? Need to contact caretaker Mr. Evans in advance to arrange what? Entry. That's our answer to question number 6. Then she asks him if there is anything she needs to know about what happens during the event. He tells her that the band is not to use the front door. They are to park the van at the back and use the stage door. They have to park the van at the back and use the stage door. So at the back was our keyword, and therefore the answer for question 7 is going to be stage. Next up, then he tells her what to do when the event is over. He says that there is a locked cupboard and you will be informed of the dash you need to know for opening it. You'll be informed of the code you need to open it. Now, remember when we were going through the questions, I said that it's always good to brainstorm for possible answers. So if you know that, okay, this is going to be my range of answers, then you'll be ready for the right option, okay? So code is basically your answer to question number 8. Next up, also he asks that the floors have to be washed, not just swept, okay? Also, he asks that the floors have to be washed and not just swept, okay? So the floors is the answer to question number 9. He tells her that you can have decorations in the room, but they must be taken down afterwards. So dash must be taken down. That is decorations. That is plural. DECORATIONS. Okay. So this fella sums up our answers to questions 1 to 10, and we are done with section 1. I hope you understood it. Obviously, if you have any sort of difficulties, you're most welcome to pen down your queries in the comment box, and it will be my pleasure to get to them whenever possible. Okay. So the answer for 1, just to repeat, is Charlton. Number 2 is 115. Number 3 is cash. Number 4 is parking. Number 5 is music. Number 6 is entry. Number 7 is stage. Number 8 is code. Number 9 is floors. And number 10, last but not the least, is decorations. Okay. So now we're actually down to section 1. And now, fellas, we're going to come to section 2, in which the person says in the recording, welcome to the FIDI Working Heritage Farm. Welcome to the FIDI Working Heritage Farm. Okay. The fellow in the recording says, I don't know whether it was a man or a woman. Okay, so it gives some advice and safety tips. Be ready. Okay, first of all, they say it's a working farm, so please don't frighten or injure the animals. Okay, now if you look at question 11, take care not to harm any. So frighten or injure. Injure is a synonym for harm, having the same thing, to inflict a negative impact upon. So that's what I say. It's all about increasing your grip over your vocabulary to ace your probability of acing this exam. Okay. So the answer for question 11 is going to be animals. Okay. Then number 12, they said, do not touch any. So they say keep a safe distance from tools. They got sharp points. They're dangerous. Don't touch them. Therefore, the answer for question 12 is going to be tools. Next up, they say wear dash. Okay, question 13. So they say the ground is uneven and you can slip in sandals. So wear shoes. Okay, so the answer for 13 is going to be shoes. They say children of all ages are welcome here, even young children. Don't bring dogs. You got to stay in the parking unless they're guide dogs. Okay, so the answer for 14 is dogs. D-O-G-S as in plural. Okay. Now we got to answer question. Now that sums up the first part of section 2. Now we come to the map. Okay. So now you got to answer questions 15 to 20. Okay. Now this is an area in which students have often struggled, you know, even though I honestly feel that a map is quite simple. It's quite easy. It's quite doable. You know, I really don't understand why people are really stumble in it. But now we're just going to take a look at it and see how we are going to go about it. Okay. So I'll keep alternating the screens so that we can look at the question paper too. This is obviously where there's some challenges in terms of the online methodology, but we'll try our best to do justice to this part of the section. Okay. Now, all pathways are traced with respect to cross X where you're currently starting. There's something I established when I was going through the question paper, right? So the fellow in the recording says, let me give you a layout of the farm. Okay. The building where you bought the ticket is the new barn. I really hope that you have your map in front of you. Otherwise, what I'm going to say is completely going to, you know, go in one ear, come out of the other. So I really hope that you are looking at the map simultaneously. So the building where you bought the ticket is the new barn. Sorry. The building where you bought the ticket is the new barn immediately to the right. Okay. The building where you bought the ticket is the new barn. That is immediately to the right. Okay. And at the beginning of the main path, to the farmland. The car park is on your left. The building where you bought the ticket is the new barn immediately to the right at the beginning of the main path to the farmland, and the car park is on your left. Okay. So we are just going to look at the map for a second and see what they've said so far and just try to, you know, like make sense of that. Yeah. So we're saying that this is where we are standing. He said the new barn is to the right. Okay. And this is at the start of the main path, and the car park is to our left. Okay, it's immediately to our left. Now, let's go ahead. All right, let's go ahead and see what they're talking about. Scarecrow. Okay, now scarecrow is the keyword. Okay, so now let's see, because now they're going to tell us where it's located. You can see that in the corner of the path, you can see that in the corner of the park, besides the main path is a traditional figure for keeping the birds away from the crops. It's a permanent sculpture. Okay, you will see that in the corner of the car park, besides the main path, is a traditional figure for keeping the birds away from the crops. That is our scarecrow. So let's go back and look at the map. Okay, now what is at the corner of the car park? I mean, you got 4 corners of the car park, right? There's nothing here, there's nothing here, there's nothing here but this corner, right? And it also says right next to the main path. Therefore, the scarecrow is located at point F. Therefore, the answer for scarecrow set question is going to be F. Okay. So let's go back to the critique. Okay. So the answer for question 15 is going to be F for frack. Then it says, look ahead of you. You'll see a maze opposite to the new barn. Besides the side path, besides means right next to the side path that branches off to the right. Okay. It says, look ahead of you. You'll see the maze that is opposite to the new barn. bond besides the side path that branches off to the right. Okay, so we just go there for a second. Let's go to the map for a second, right? And let's take a look at it. Okay, so right opposite the maze is right opposite the new bond. So this is the new bond here. What's opposite? On the other side, that is this point. And it's also saying that it's right along this besides, that is along the side path that branches off to the right. So we were here at X. This was the main path. And from here, we got a side path that is branching to the right. So we are going in this direction, and we feel that along the side path, right on the opposite side of the new bond is our what? Is our maze. Okay. So once you are aware, fellas, of your coordinates, north, south, east, west, right, left, and all that, and once you know the starting point, and once you listen carefully to what the instruction is saying, a map should be fairly simple, you know. So the answer for 16 is going to be G for George. Next up, can you see the bridge crossing over the fish pool further up the main path? If you want to go to the cafe and turn right just before it. Walk along the side path, and the cafe is the first bend you come on. Okay. So once again, can you see the bridge crossing over the fish pool further up the main path? Okay. So first of all, you're going to look at the fish pool. Okay. It says if you want to go to the cafe, go to the cafe and turn right just before it. Walk along the side path, and the cafe is the first bend you come along. Okay. So turn right just before it, that is just before the fish pool, and walk along the side path, and the cafe is on the first bend you come to. Okay. So they told us, if you go back to the map, okay, they told us that this is the fish pool. Okay. Now we can see the fish pool in front of us. Okay. So we are going ahead on the main path. It says just before the fish pool, you turn right, and the cafe is on the first bend. Now, fellas, since you are going ahead in the fish pool, and you have to turn just right just before it, so obviously come back on the side path. Now, what is this? This is called a bend. Okay. So the first bend is going to be what? That is going to be your answer. Okay. That's going to be your cafe. Okay. So the answer for 17 is going to be D for Delta. Next up, they talk about run skill workshops, learn traditional crafts. Apologies, I did not spell that properly. In fact, I'm just going to make that change right now. You can see examples of the work and talk to someone about the courses in the black barn. Tail side path to the right, just by the new barn, and you'll come by the black barn just where the path ends. Okay. So what they're saying, take the side path to the right, just by the new barn, and you will come by the black barn where the path ends. Okay. Okay. So if you go back, it says over here, it says that take the side path to the right. Okay, so this is the new barn right next to where we are standing. So take the side path to the right, and just where it ends, you know. So that's going to be H. Okay, so that is our answer to question number 18. Then they say picnicking. Picnic in the field-covered picnic area, one near from the yard just after you cross the bridge, one on your right. So there is a picnic area. So after you cross the bridge, it is the one on your right. Okay. So after you cross the bridge, it is going to be the one on your right. So this is the bridge. Okay. And it's going to be the one on the right. It's going to be Charlie. Okay. It's going to be Charlie. Finally, you have number 20. That is Fetty House itself, its location. From here, you cross the bridge, then walk along the footpath through the field to the left of the farmyard that goes to the house. It's a lovely view, and it's a private home. So obviously, it's out of bounds. It's, you can't just go in there. That's off limits. Okay. So what if they said you cross the bridge? Then once you cross the bridge, what do? You take the footpath. Okay. Then you stay to the left of the farmyard that goes to the house. Okay. So let's just look at that as well, fellas. So obviously over here, if you look over here at the map, so they say you cross the bridge. Now, once you cross the bridge, you are going to take the footpath that goes along the left side of the barn. And when you come ahead, you cross the road, and what you get A, and that is the location, the coordinates of the Fetty House itself. Okay. So that summarizes our answers and our critique for section 2. So just to reiterate, the answer for 11 is animals. For 12, it is tools. Emphasis on the plurals, fellas. 13 is shoes. 14 is dogs. 15 is F. 16 is G. 17 is D for Delta. 18 is Harry. 19 is Charlie. And 20 is Alpha. Okay. So That being said and done, we now look at our critique for section 3, okay? We look at our critique for section 3. So it says, read the article you mentioned, one about study on gender in physics. There was a study of the college students by Akira Miyake and his team researchers. So the main researcher in this study was Akira Miyake. I hope I spelled that correctly. Sorry, I hope I pronounced it correctly. And he also had a team of researchers along with him or her. So first of all, okay, so there's a conversation between two students happening. One is a female student and the other is a male student, okay? So one student says, they were interested to see that the researchers were a mix of psychologists and physicists. It's an unusual combination. She got a bit confused at first about which students the study was based on, okay? About which students the study was based on, which actually means that she's talking about the answer to question number 21, okay? Which students the study was based on. In other words, what were the students majoring in, okay? So she says that, or he says, she says she got a bit confused at first. They weren't majoring in physics, okay? The student says they weren't majoring in physics. So A is not possible, okay? They were majoring in STEM disciplines, okay? That is science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, and we're doing physics as a part of their studies, okay? So see, you got major modules and you got minor modules. Minors are a part of your study, but they're not majored in themselves, okay? So what were they majoring in? That was STEM disciplines. That is science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. So the answer for question 21 is going to be geography, okay? Next up, you look at question 22, and that was actually about what was the aim of the study? What were they investigating? So Miyake and co. start from the fact that women are underrepresented in introductory physics colleges at that women are underrepresented in introductory physics courses at college, and also that on average, enrolled women perform poorer in the courses rather than the men. Okay, so all right, no one knows why. He says that what researchers basically wanted to find out what they could do about relatively low level of women's results. So what do they want to do? They want to find out about the relatively low level of women's results. In order to get to the solution, they needed to find out the nature of the problem. Okay, they need to find out the nature of the problem. Okay, so they have wanted to get to the solution, and for that, they have to understand the problem. That is the low level of women's results. The answer for 20 is clearly going to be Bravo. That is a way of improving women's performance in physics. Okay, next up, question 23. Question 23 is what were the female physics students wrong to believe about? In physics class, the female students thought that male students all assumed that women weren't any good in physics and expected them to get poor results. This made them nervous and got poor results. They were wrong. No one was making any assumptions about the female students at all. So 23, B, Bravo, that is our option, because they were incorrect to believe that the male students expected them to do badly. Okay. Next up, if you look at question 24 of this section, right? Miyake's team asked the students to write about. So what did they ask the students to write about? So Miyake's team getting students to do writing before they went into the physics class. It values affirmation. They had to write an essay on things that were significant to them, not particularly to do with the subject, as in it wasn't really related with the subject per se that they were studying, but more general things like music or people who matter to them. So they wanted people to write about things that were important to them. Okay, so like I said, it wasn't about the subject. Okay, it wasn't about, so physics A is out of the window. It's not the option. B, successful experiences of other people. No, it was about themselves. So B is also incorrect. So C, something that was important and personally. Bravo, that's our correct answer. I mean, that's in Bravo as in, well, that's the correct answer. The answer is not Bravo. The answer is Charlie. Okay, so 24 is C. All right. Next up, if you look at 25, what was the aim of the writing exercise done by the subjects? So these fellows, they did a writing exercise. So what was the purpose of it? Okay. Ideas of doing writing, get students think in a positive way. Putting thoughts into words can relax them and help them overcome the psychological barriers that lead to poor performance. Okay. So when they're relaxed, automatically they will be stress-free. Relaxation is the opposite of, to be relaxed is the opposite of to be stressful. Okay. So when they're relaxed, their stress levels are going down, the stress is being reduced. Okay. So the answer for 25 is going to be A, to reduce stress. There's no talk about verbal ability or logical thinking. So the answer for 25 is going to be A. Next up, What researchers in the study hadn't expected. Before that, let's look at what's question 26 again for us. What surprised the researchers about the study? Okay. What researchers in study hadn't expected, which was quite surprising for them, was that this one activity raised women's physics grades from C negative to the B range. It raised women's grades from the C negative to the B range. Okay, so the answer for 26 is going to be B, the positive impact it had on the physics results for women. Okay, then if you look at 27, 27 says, well, Greg and Lisa think Miyake's results could have been affected by. So what do you think were the factors that could have affected the researcher Miyake's results? Okay. Now, why they were writing? If they know researchers think it might bring an improvement, they would try to fulfill their their expectations. Okay. So why they were writing? If they know research, they would try to fulfill their expectations. Okay. So see, the information the students they were given, as in why are they writing it? Okay, what was the information? That is our answer to question 27. That is C. For our project, then obviously if you look at question 28, it says that right, that Greg and Lisa decided in their own project they'll compare the effects of. So now these male and female students are actually talking about what's going to be their own research objectives in their particular project. So they said they will compare the effects of. Now let's see what they're talking about. For our project, we could do a similar study. Investigate whether it was really writing that brought about the result. Do a writing task. That's what one student says. But he says, you know what? Maybe half writing oral or half do some writing task as an original research and half do a factual writing task. Okay. So what they're saying is they could do some writing task as in the original. So the answers are clearly being changed. Okay. The answers are clearly being changed. Okay. So initially they were thinking that they were simply going to do, that they were going to be doing half writing task along with half oral task, okay, as in the original research. Okay, so you'd be tempted to think that the answer for 20 is going to be B, but wait for it, okay? Then they change the answer. They think about it and they decide to scrap that approach and they say, you know what, instead we are going to be doing two writing tasks, one that is on original research and the other is going to be a fact writing task. So there's going to be two writing tasks. So like I said before, fellas, in the presentation for listening, always watch out for changed answers. Okay, so the answer for 20 is going to be A. Next up, article by Smolinski, which is obviously our keyword. Okay, so 29 was about the main finding of Smolinski research was in class teamwork activities. Okay, so what effect did they have? How mixed teamwork fared against single-sex teamwork on their own? Let me guess. Women were better at teamwork. That's what I expected, but men and women got the same results. In other words, the teams were not that relevant. Okay. So the answer for 29 is going to be B. That is, it had no effect on the performance of men or women. Okay. And finally, if you look at the answers to question number 30, it's going to be what will Lisa and Greg do next? Okay. So you have three options. Look at the timetable, observe a class, and talk to a professor. So how are we going to get everything done? Maybe need some advice. Right size example. What do we do next? Make a timetable for science class or appointment with the science professor. They say an appointment with the science professor is going to be better, and then we observe. So the answer for 30 is going to be A for alpha. Okay. Just to reiterate the answers for this section. So 21 is Charlie, 22 is Bravo, 23 is Bravo, 24 is Charlie, 25 is Alpha, 26 is Bravo, 27 is Charlie, 28 is Alpha, 29 is Bravo, and 30 is Alpha once again. Okay. So this follows pretty much sums up our critique and discussion on Cambridge IELTS Book 11 Listening Test 1, which is the same for both academic as well as general students of IELTS. Okay. Now I've attached the answer key. These sections 1, 2, and 3. Those of you who are interested, I've also attached the answers for questions for section 4. Those of you who are interested, you can reach out to me on my channel and I can share this document with you. And additionally, this is a task that I would like you to do for yourself, just like I've made the critique about for the 3 sections. Okay, I would like you to similarly make a critique for section 4. Because when you do this, you'll feel automatic that will help you a lot for the actual exam and you're going to be listening to the recording. The more you document the critique in this way, the more you're training your mind to think this way, the better likelihood you have of extracting the right answers from the recording. Okay. So that being said, fellas, I really hope this session was helpful. If you have any suggestions in regards to the improvement of the teaching process, please do let me know. I would love to have your suggestions on the matter. Until then, thank you very much. Have a lovely day. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.